It starts right now. A Renewed Mind, hosted by Dr. H. Dante Duckett, pastor of New Kingdom Faith Christian Church. Position yourself right now to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, here's our host, Dr. H. Dante Duckett.
Hello, and welcome to another podcast of A Renewed Mind. I'm your host, Dr. H. Dante Duckett, and I'm really excited that you took the time to sit with me tonight as we are going on again our virtual couch, that you may be able to understand the power and the process of a renewed mind. We are on episode number 24, and I am so grateful that God has extended me this time and this platform that I may be able to share with you on how to not only renew your mind, but to execute the renewing of your mind and seeing and reaping the fruit of a renewed mind. Listen, you can always listen to me on this station that you're listening to me on. You can go to Spreaker.com. That's www.Spreaker, Spreaker.com. Search my name, Dante Duckett, and then download all of my podcasts. Or you can go on pray.com. That's pray.com. Search for me, Dante Duckett, D-U-A-N-T-E, Duckett, D-U-C-K-E-T-T. Download all of my podcasts from there, or you can go on Apple. I'm on Apple Podcast Network. I'm on Spotify's network. Anywhere, any podcast platform you can think of, I'm there. Search for me and make sure you download our podcast. Or you can also go to our church website. I am the pastor along with my wife of New Kingdom Faith Christian Church. And we can you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/New Kingdom Faith. You can search for me there. We have all of our content, not only our podcast, but all of our services are there. And I believe you will truly enjoy every moment. It will help you grow like you've never grown before, spiritually, mentally, I believe physically and emotionally. We've been having a great time these last weeks, man. This pandemic, I believe, has done either two things. It's poured out the best in you, or it has made you retreat and not do as much as you could do. I've seen a lot of persons retreat. I've seen a lot of persons shrink in this pandemic, but I've also seen a lot of people expand. That's what this pandemic even does. It either shrinks you, makes you almost a shell of yourself, or it will expand you into who you really are. It will stretch you. It will grow you. It will move you. Because this pandemic, I believe, was sent for such a time as this. It was sent for you to expand. It was sent for you to grow. It was sent for you to discover your assignment, discover your purpose. And I believe all of that happens when you start renewing your mind. You start to understand that there are certain levels of life that you are afforded that you need to get to. And you can no longer settle for the place that you're in right now. That's what a renewed mind understands. It understands that God has a purpose for me, and that purpose is in me. It's not somewhere around me. It's not somewhere I got to go search for outside of me. What I need, all I need, is on the inside of me. A renewed mind discovers that. It discovers that the kingdom of God is in me. That means everything I need is in me. The Lord's Prayer says, let this world be in you that's also in me. It says, listen, he said, I want to make sure that the kingdom is here on earth. Thy will be done on earth. Thy will be done on earth. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I believe the will that God is trying to pull out is on the inside of us. And I'm here to help you get to that point as you start renewing your mind. God needs each and every one of us. He needs each and every one of us to connect, to be able to make sure that heaven is created on earth. I believe he wants us to create it here before we go up there. A renewed mind understands that it has to maximize, as T.D. Jakes once wrote in his books, maximize. We have to maximize each moment of our life. We can't take another moment for granted as this pandemic, as this coronavirus, as this pandemic has shown us, has exposed to us in our mind and our thinking that we can't take another moment for granted. So last week we talked about, we made another pivot into another level of teaching, another subject matter of teaching on a renewed mind. And we talked about living an intentional life. You have to live your life with intent. That means you do not haphazardly live your life. If you read the book of Genesis, I believe around Genesis 37 or 38, Joseph went to look for his brothers. And when he went to look for his brothers, he aimlessly walked to find them, meaning he didn't have a plan. He didn't know exactly where they were. He was just trying to find them. I believe God needs you to have a plan. In fact, I know God has given you a plan, plans to prosper you, plans to give you a hope in the future. And that plan is within you. It's in you. And I need you to get that. And the only way you're going to be able to possess that, the only way you're going to be able to tap into that is by renewing your mind. So tonight, we're going to do a recap on what we talked about on last episode on Don't Take It Personal. We mentioned the word offense last week, or being offended. Tonight, we're going to do some digging on what does that mean and how do we equip ourselves from constantly being offended. Everyone will be offended at some point for the rest of your life, but how far you take it and the response you have from the offense will shape your life. Now, let me clarify some of the things that I need to, some key points. There are some legitimate occurrences that you should be offended by, but it's how you carry the offense. I had one of the leaders approach me and told me that they were offended. I had this conversation with you last week. I had to apologize for offending them. We cannot eliminate feelings that people have. It's just how they respond to the feelings. Jesus throughout life from the beginning to the end was being offended. This is what we talked about last week. And one of the points we made last week is the act of being offended is impossible to be eliminated. However, your response to the offense is within your control. Jesus decided to submit to his parents. And because of that, look at what happened. Jesus increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. I believe your responses to everything dictates the favor that will be on your life. For me right now, favor is not about money. Favor is not about getting a seat at the table. If you desire to live an intentional life, the one thing you should master is to not allow the words from people to influence your feelings. Folk are going to always have something negative to say about you. Listen to me. Repeat that again. Folk are always going to have something negative to say about you, especially if you are in a leadership position. And if they don't say it in your face, believe me, they're saying it behind your back. You can be naive if you want. Believe there are folk who smile right in your face, but are talking about you in their mind or to someone else. Then God help you if you're trying to help someone else and you actually succeed in helping them get out of whatever they're in. Now you're the one with the target on your back. Don't think for a moment that just because you're walking in your calling, that individuals will not question your motives and intentions. Expect it, especially if you're producing results. I'm going to repeat that. Expect it, especially if you're producing results. This is why Jesus makes this declaration at the end. Blessed is the one who is not offended by me, because all I'm doing is what the Father called me to do. I'm here to help you understand you cannot prevent the offense from coming out, but you better know how to respond to it. A person with a renewed mind has learned how to respond to the offense properly and actually allows it to produce the fruit it was intended to bear. You also grow in favor with God. Living the intentional life will keep you from being drawn into foolish activities that will not positively contribute to accomplishing your vision. You neither have the time nor the energy to deal with foolishness that you know is wasting time, which typically leads to someone being offended. Consecrating your character, listen y'all, requires that you intentionally make yourself available to God as a, living sacrifice. So part of your character transformation is you cannot conform to this world. How the world will handle how a world will handle a specific situation. You must do the opposite. But this process requires, that your mind be renewed. We speak so much about a renewed mind because your mind, controls your life. You cannot discern God's will until you renew your mind. Secondly, consecrating your character will commence when you have decided to adhere the commandments of God, which leads to God separating you from the pack. You're going through the sanctification process. That means God is pruning you. Everything that is dead or not bearing fruit or does not want to come to your side, God is removing your appetite for it, because you're now becoming brand new. The old is dead. In fact, I've already committed the body, the flesh, to the ground. That old you that everyone used to know is officially gone. I can personally testify about that, because I know a lot of what I used to be pre-corona is not who I am post-corona. All the things that I used to do, say, or even tolerate, I don't do anymore, because God has shown me the power of a true renewed mind. The fact is, I've already committed my body to the ground. The old me is gone. That everyone used to know, it's officially dead. Okay, you need more scripture. Listen, the old self couldn't handle what the new you can now tolerate. Why? Because who you used to be has been crucified, and he now lives in you. Listen, you know you've been biting your tongue a lot more than what you used to, because that's the old you. The old you has been crucified. That person is dead, but it never fails. Someone is always trying to raise that person up. But look at somebody, look at yourself. I want you to look at yourself in the mirror. If you find you need to find a mirror today, you need to find a place. I need you to look at yourself and tell yourself, not today. You are who you are because God called you out and crowned you a royal priest of his own possession. You belong to God only. He is going to get the glory out of you. He's going to get the glory out of you. This Sunday, look at this. This past Sunday, actually it was a few Sundays ago, we came across the scripture called in Matthew 5:13-16. It says, "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is then good for nothing, but to be thrown out and trampled, you up underfoot by men. You are the light of the world. A city that is a lamp on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand. But it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." Every once in a while, we all need to be motivated to finish what we started. I'm giving you this tonight. You need to finish. A renewed mind is determined to finish what it has started. I'm going to say it again. It is determined to finish what it started. Look at this. Let me give you this acronym. P stands for poured out on purpose. U stands for unmovable by design. S is spiritual visionary. And H is habitat for glory. You know what that spells out? Push. A renewed mind knows how to push to finish what it has started. A renewed mind understands that it has to pour out on purpose. It is unmovable by design. It has spiritual visionary, and its habitat is a habitat for God's glory. I don't care who you are. We all get weary in our well-doing. But if you have a great support system, there's going to be someone who will be designated to push you into that season. If you haven't gotten there, then you need to check yourself to see if you're operating in God's assignment for your life. Because when you are moving in the direction, you will be required to handle the mantle that most folk have decided is too much to bear. I'm telling you right now, listen to me. When you are in this season, and you know you're operating in God's will, you will be required to handle a mantle that most folk have decided is too much to bear. But the question tonight that we need to answer that we weren't able to address some time ago is, what do I do when there's no one in my life to push me? What if there's what if there's no one qualified to push you? It's so easy to illustrate someone behind you pushing you, but many of us, during seasons of our life, there's really no one who has accepted the assignment to be that person who has the strength and the consistency to push you. I've been hearing this more often. In the last few weeks, there are many persons who feel they have no one who they can depend on. There's no one who they can really relate to what they are relate to what they're going through. Who is their push person? Who's that person that's been called to push them? Really, I believe God allows us to go through those seasons to help us to first realize that we are more than what we think we are. We are more than who we think we are. Despite being made in the image of God, I've declared to you many times before, despite being literally handcrafted by God himself, most Christians operate with a very low self-worth of themselves. They do not see themselves as the chosen. They are unable to comprehend that God of the universe called them forth. What they see is someone who is less than, someone who doesn't measure up to the persons they are connected to. Therefore, they have intentionally, listen to this, labeled themselves as weaker. That's what a person does that is not renewing their mind. They will label themselves not the way God sees them. They may not actually say that they are weak, but there seems to illustrate that they are weaker than. It's about you tonight. That's the tag of our podcast tonight. It is about you. It's about you tonight. I know we hear a lot of talk that comes along. It's really not about you. But tonight, God wanted me to tell you on this podcast of A Renewed Mind, it is about you. We're going to do some digging into how God chooses who he wants to use. What is God saying about you? Especially you who, for whatever reason, cannot believe that you do not have much to offer. What is God really saying about you? You know why it's about you, because you don't realize that you are the missing link. I'm talking to all the introverts who are not renewing their mind, who try to hide behind the scenes. I'm exposing you tonight because we need you to let your light shine. Let's take a look at some scriptures tonight. Look at 1 Corinthians 1:27. But God has chosen, listen, the foolish things of the world to put to shame the wise. And God has chosen the weak things of the world to put to shame the things which are mighty. The New Living Translation says it this way. Instead, God chooses the things the world considers foolish in order to shame those who think they are wise. And he chooses things that are powerless to shame those who are powerful. God chooses things. The things in that scripture are people, are us. The world has labeled. This is about you tonight, since you don't think you measure up to the world's standards, we have been labeled by the world as foolish. And since many of these labels have been made permanent by us, we have allowed them to become us. This is good. What they say we are, listen, you are not that, and you are not this. Since you did this, then that is who you are. That's what the world says. And since we really don't know who we are, we will throw you in the pile labeled rejected. That's what the world does, y'all. Since you really don't know who you are, you've allowed the world to label you. A renewed mind understands that the world has always labeled what they can't handle. Y'all better get this tonight. The world has always labeled what they can't handle. And they'll throw you in a pile labeled rejected. How many men, mighty men, women have come out superior in their craft, and many of them found their way because they were rejected by other people. because persons couldn't handle who they were becoming. We've done it. We've all done it. We've all rejected persons because we couldn't handle them. We didn't understand who they were and what they brought to the table. As a pastor, I cannot believe how many persons are walking around dejected and rejected. They're living their lives not in the might of God, but through the eyes of their weaknesses. Help me. Tonight, I'm teaching you. I'm teaching that you may have hope, that you may see yourself the way God intended for you to see you. Here's your hope. God has chosen the weak things. You. God is so wise that he knew that at this point in your life, you would not feel like you should because of whatever may have happened in your life. But God says, I chose you, Moses. Y'all remember Moses, right? I mean, everybody, if you haven't read the Bible in years, everybody's heard of Moses. Moses was a murderer of men. The man that didn't want to stand up for what he did wrong, so he decided to run. God chose that man to deliver an entire generation. Yes, that's the kind of God you serve. God chose a murderer, a man. Then he decided to run, not to stand trial for his own decisions. He still chose that man. God chose that man to deliver an entire generation, because Moses, when he went to renew his mind. He found a season of renewing his mind. That's why God was able to use him. Yes, that's the kind of God you serve. Someone has decided that your view of yourself fits his criteria. God made the decision on his own. He made the decision on his own to take advantage of the label the world has attached to you to ensure he accomplishes his will on this earth. So let's take a deep dive into the life of Gideon. Some of you may not know who Gideon is, but I'm going to describe him for you tonight. He's found in the book of Judges. His life will help you see who God sees, despite what you may even say about you. When you hear that God chose you, or if he sends someone in your life to confirm it, look at yourself in that mirror again. If you don't have one, look at yourself in the imaginary mirror and ask yourself, why not you? Come on, look at yourself. Say, why not you? Is it because you don't have what someone else is doing what you want? Is it because you don't have what someone else has, or someone else is doing what you want to do? I used to compare myself to so many preachers. I couldn't memorize scripture like some of these teacher preachers. I didn't sound like them. I was too old. You name it, I said it. Then I heard the voice of God as I was in that season of renewing my mind. He said, fool, I chose you for these people. Then he said this, I don't care what they think about you. I've used preachers who couldn't even read, flip this whole world upside down. He's used preachers that couldn't even read, flip the world upside down. Let's take a look at Gideon. I'm going to read Judges 6:11-12. Now the angel of the Lord came and sat under the terebinth tree, which was in Ophrah, which belonged to Joaz the Abrasite, while his son Gideon threshed wheat in the winepress, in order to hide it from the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said to him, the Lord is with you, you mighty man of valor. Man, look at this, y'all. The angel from the Lord was on specific assignment to find Gideon. He finds Gideon working threshing wheat. The angel was sent by God to meet up with Gideon. Gideon had a divine encounter. Your life and your time allotted is too valuable to take lightly. Therefore, expect God to utilize all available resources to communicate your assignment to you in this season. Listen to me carefully. Your life and your time allotted is too valuable to take lightly. Therefore, expect God to utilize all available resources to communicate your assignment to you in this season. This is where I help you. If you notice in the Bible, most divine encounters occur when individuals are alone. I want y'all to really get this, please. Which is why you find yourself alone most of the time. God has scheduled a divine encounter for you. You think no one wants to be around you, but get this. I need you to take note of this. God is saying he doesn't want anyone around you in this season. Man, y'all better get this. You think people don't want to be around you. What God is saying is, I'm trying to keep people from getting around you because I have a divine encounter set for you that I cannot afford people to mess it up. Gideon was working, and here comes an angel taking a seat right next to him, obviously coming with a word from the Lord. The Lord is with you. Look at yourself again and declare this. The Lord is with you. Declare that you are their angel. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. God is sending an angel. God is sending an angel to you. The Lord is with you. That's all I need. That's all I want you to hear right now. The Lord is with you. A renewed mind understands that. You have the Lord right there. But then he adds the bonus. This is what the angel says. Listen, you mighty man of valor. You salt of the earth, you light of the world, you mighty man, you mighty woman of valor, you mighty woman, mighty man of valor. Why did the angel have to declare who Gideon was? It's all about you tonight. So before you open your mouth to spew out some sort of false humility statement, God is telling you who you really are. You mighty woman, you mighty man of valor. God has to reaffirm who you are because you have suppressed who you are. That's why you're going through this season of a renewed mind. Let's look at Gideon again. Let's look at how Gideon handles it in Judges 6:13. Gideon says to him, "Oh my Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us? And where are all his miracles which our fathers told us about, saying, did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites." This is why so many of us miss out on so many blessings. I'm a firm believer. We don't even know how to receive from God. Now is the time for the children of God to be ready to receive from God, especially if they find themselves in extended seasons of persecution. They're being oppressed by the Midianites, but in the midst of it all, the angel spoke to Gideon about who he was. But Gideon responds, "If the Lord is with us." Check out the shift in pronouns. The angel addresses Gideon with the word "you." The angel was speaking directly to Gideon, but Gideon addresses the angel with the word "us." Why does Gideon do this? Because like many of us, we don't think we deserve to be what God called us to be. This is why it takes you so long to accept your assignments. You keep running from the role God gave you. Come on, tell yourself again, one more time, stop running. Come on, if you're in front of the mirror, look at yourself in the mirror. But if you don't have, look at the mirror, tell yourself, stop running. Then, of course, the Israelites are dealing with the enemy that they have not been able to defeat. Not because God didn't want to, but if you read the book of Judges, each time God delivered them, they forgot about God and started doing their own thing again. But let's keep digging, because just 3 verses should be enough for this study tonight, this podcast tonight. But look at how the angel responds to Gideon. Look at how the angel responds. I love this. Judges 6:14. Then the Lord turned to him and said, "Go in this way, this might of yours, and you shall save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have I not sent you?" Come on, everyone, look at this conversation. First, the angel tells him who he was. Then, while the angel of the Lord is there, he turns to address him even more personally. This moment specifically is too important for you to miss it. Therefore, God may have to really get your attention. you have been missing too many moments. Too many moments. God has declared you are no longer allowed to miss another major move, which means his next move for your life will not be able to, you will not be able to deny that it came straight from him. You will not be able to deny it came straight from him. This is the word from the Lord for everyone under the sound of my voice. The angel says, go in this might of yours. This is big. I need everybody to get this. Go in this might of yours, the might that is in you, the might that is already in you. I'm standing on this tonight, on this podcast. It's already in you. The strength you need can be found in you. This is what's already in you. Then he throws this in. Have I not already sent you? Don't tell me you have not heard what God has told you. Everybody that's listening to this part, don't tell me you haven't heard what God told you. I stand to declare, has God not sent you? What other confirmation do you need? Do you need another prophetic word to be declared over your life? Or is this enough? If God be for you, who can be against you? But for Gideon, that wasn't even enough. He now wants to go back to his own personal view of himself. Let's go to Judges 6:15. Listen what he says. So he said to him, "O my Lord, how can I save Israel? Indeed, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house." Listen, refuse to allow your personal assessment of who you are to prevent you from fulfilling the call of God on your life. Now here comes the natural mind again. Because what God says can't be valid. Now an angel has to come and sit next to you to declare what you are called to do. And yet you are still doubting. You're still doubting because of where you come from or who you are. Gideon goes from describing his tribe in a negative to his clan than his father's house. He must have received this from somewhere. This is what I mean about making sure you guard what comes out of your mouth. We're going to talk about that next week. Don't let me forget. I almost forgot. Next week is our 25th episode. I hope somebody is celebrating. I know you should be celebrating. I got a special guest. And one of the things we're going to talk about is guarding what comes out of your mouth. The seeds you sow in the atmosphere through your mouth are being sown and will harvest. So we need to watch what we declare and watch what we confirm. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss that. We got a special guest that's going to show you the power of a seed that comes from, oh my, I'm telling you, it's going to be a blessing. It's going to be a blessing. You want to make sure you're here next week for our 25th episode. Listen, Gideon had to get it from somewhere. You got to guard what comes out of your mouth. However, he received the information. The information does not change God's mind. But here it goes again, running versus embracing the call. You are in the season of your call. It does not matter where you come from or you are who you are connected to. God has called you out. It is about it's about you. We need everyone involved to bring heaven to earth. Not your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We need everyone. This is your call to your assignment. As a pastor, I need to hear what do you need me to do? I'm the angel calling you out tonight. And if you think you're weak in the area, Pastor, I can't do it. Look at what God says in 2 Corinthians 12:9. And he said, my grace is sufficient for you, for my weakness is made perfect. My strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, most gladly, I'd rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ might rest upon you. God has decided to ensure that every area of your life is covered by him. He is especially fond of those areas that don't measure up to the world's standards. His strength is made perfect in your weakness, which means the area that you are not able to do well in, God says that's where he shows up. He will and has shown up in your weakest moments. So again, I ask the question, what are you waiting for? A renewed mind understands. I can't wait any longer. Look at what Judges 6:16 says. And the Lord said to him, surely I will be with you, and you shall defeat the Midianites as one man. Surely I love that word. Surely I will be with you. God's covenant with you will remain. In fact, he is waiting for you to take him at his word. Surely I will be with you and you will win. Not only that, you can save, you can save your backup for the next time. Yeah. Y'all know we always go, when you had a fight, you always had some backup. God says, guess what? You can save that for the next time, because the enemy that you're dealing with right now, you will defeat on your own. Surely I will be with you. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow you all the days of your life, and you will dwell. Come on, a renewed mind understands that God is always with them. A renewed mind understands that he cannot self-inflict the wound of his assignment. A renewed mind understands that when what God has confirmed in you is going to come out of you when you allow him to be God in your life. That's the power and the process of a renewed mind. That's who you are. It's already in you. So don't speak out of your mouth what you are not. Know who you are and say that it is about you tonight. It is. Because we're stronger when you're stronger. If you're weak, we're weak. It is about you. You've been listening to another podcast of A Renewed Mind. I am your host, Dr. H. Dante Duckett, and I'm so excited that you decided to lay on our virtual couch this evening. Don't forget, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. See you next week.
You have just been blessed by the transformational teaching of Dr. H. Dante Duckett. Tune in next time to another segment of A Renewed Mind.